Hello friends, I am CS Jaspreet. Welcome to my channel. If you are new to my channel, I make educational videos for commerce students and students pursuing CA, CS and CMA as well as the members of the following institutes. Today's video is on cooperative societies and trusts. I have made videos on other forms of organizations as well. You will find the link in the description box if you have not seen them before. Before proceeding further, don't forget to subscribe my channel and hit the like button. In this video, I will be talking about the form of business organization, that is cooperative societies and trusts. And before proceeding further, please subscribe to my channel. Starting with the meaning of cooperatives, societies and trusts, the term corporation, it is derived from the Latin word co-operare, where the word co means with and operare means to work. So cooperation means working together. We all know what does cooperation means. It simply means working together. So cooperatives is based on this thing only, that working together in a mutual way is known as cooperation. It is a voluntary association of persons who work together to promote their economic interest. The association of persons is voluntary. Voluntary means on their own they come up and join to work together to promote their economic interests. So this is the meaning of cooperation. Now, what are the main objectives of cooperative society? The main objectives of cooperative society are: first, rendering service rather than earning profit. Now, the motive of the cooperative society is not earning profit, it is rendering services to the society. That is why cooperative societies, that is why trusts are being created. All of us know why our trusts, cooperative societies are created. The main objective is to render service to the society. The second objective is mutual help instead of competition. It is not there to compete with each other. Okay, we are competing with that cooperative society or we are competing with the other trusts or the other societies. No, that is not for that purpose. This is for mutual help, for helping the people who need who cannot afford the services and who need help. That is why cooperative societies and trusts are being created. Then the third objective is self-help in place of dependence. That is why they are created, so that people can help themselves. They can create self-help in place of dependence. In place of people depending on other people for help, they should be able to do self-help. So these are the main three objectives of cooperative society. Now there are different types of cooperative societies. Here I will explain you 6 types of cooperative societies, starting with the first, Consumers Cooperative Society. Now they protect the interests of general consumers. As the name suggests, Consumers Cooperative Society, it will protect the interests of general consumers. They buy goods directly from the producers or manufacturers and eliminate the middlemen. Now what happens when people buy goods from producers or manufacturers and sell it to their customers? What does the middleman does? He actually takes his share of profit as well, that the price of the product gets increased. That is why by eliminating the middleman, the price is at the lower side. Now there are famous examples also like Kendriya Bhandar, Apna Bazaar and Sahakari Bhandar. They are the examples of consumers cooperative society. Then comes second type of society, which is Producers Cooperative Society. They protect the interests of small producers by making available items of their need for production. Now sometimes the small producers, they don't get access to the things they need for their production. So at that point of time, these cooperative societies, they help them get their needs of production like raw materials, tools and equipments, machineries, etc. Now there are certain handloom societies like APCO, Bayanika, Haryana Handloom, etc., which are the examples of Producers Cooperative Society. Then the third type of cooperative society is Cooperative Marketing Society. These societies are formed by small producers and manufacturers who find it difficult to sell their goods individually. Now there are small producers, small manufacturers who find it difficult to find the ultimate consumer. So what happens? The marketing societies are created for such small producers and manufacturers, so that the society, what does the society does? The society collects the products from the individual members and it takes the responsibility of selling those products. Like The examples are Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation that sells Amul milk products. That is the very famous marketing cooperative society that is selling the Amul milk products. The next type of cooperative society is cooperative credit society. Now these are formed to provide financial support to the members. They accept deposits and grant loans at reasonable rate of interest. These are very important, like for providing financial support to its members. They are created. What does the society does? It accepts the deposits from members and grants them loans at reasonable rates of interest in times of need. Like village service cooperative society and urban cooperative banks, these are some examples of cooperative credit society. The next type is cooperative farming society. Now these are formed by small farmers to work jointly and enjoy the benefits of large scale farming. There are small farmers who are working on their farm, so for that they can work jointly and they can enjoy the benefits of large scale farming. Like lift irrigation cooperative societies and pani panchayats, they are some of the examples of such societies. The next type is housing cooperative society. Now these are formed to provide residential houses to members. To provide them residential houses, this society is being formed. They purchase land, develop it, construct houses, or they can construct flats also, and then they allot to the members. Like the employees housing societies and the metropolitan housing cooperative societies, they are such examples. So these are above the 6 types of cooperative societies. Starting up with the characteristics of cooperative societies, the first characteristic is voluntary association. Now anyone can freely form the cooperative society. There is no need of any formalities or regulations. So it's very easy to form a cooperative society. It's just you need minimum 10 members, and for maximum there is no limit. You can have as many number of members as you wish. Now anyone can leave the society just by giving due notice. The person who wants to leave the society, the leaving is also easy. It's not that difficult. The next characteristic is separate legal entity. Now it is separate after registration. It becomes totally separate, and it acquires an identity which is quite distinct and independent of its members. It is a separate society, right? It can purchase, it can dispose its own assets, it can sue and be sued, and the income is also legally taxed as per the Income Tax Act 1961. Then the third characteristic is democratic management. Now equality is, it is the essence of cooperative enterprises, governed by democratic principles. It is governed by the democracy, it is governed by the democratic principles. So equality is very, very important. Every member has got equal right over the function management is being worked on. So here it's very famously said that in this case no member, he detects the terms and conditions of the functioning, because one man one vote is the thumb rule of such form of organizations. The next characteristic is service motive. Profit is not at all in the agenda of the society. It is very important. The societies, the trusts, the corporations, they are being created because of the motive of the service motive. The main objective is mutual benefit of the society through self-help and collective effort. It is very important to help the society through self-help, through mutual benefit. We are going to help the society to raise up, to raise their lifestyle, and to helping them in need, and the collective effort. So it is very important. The next characteristic is utilization of surplus. The surplus is kept in a separate reserve and it is partly distributed as dividend among the members. The surplus is kept, the sum is kept as a separate reserve and sum is distributed as dividend to its members. The next characteristic is cash trading. This is one exception that not like other businesses that go on credit sales, the corporations, the trusts or the societies, they actually work on the basis of cash only. They work as cash trading basis. The next characteristic is fixed rate of return. Now all members, they are supposed to contribute capital for the formation of a cooperative society or at the time of joining. They contribute their share. Now in return to the capital invested, what happens? The members are assured of a fixed rate of return, maximum to the extent of 9% per annum on the sum deployed by them. The next characteristic is government control. Now these are governed by government through its different rules and regulations which are framed from time to time. It is very important that yes, they are governed by government only. Sometimes different state governments, they also frame laws regarding the registration and functioning of cooperative societies for their states. The next characteristic is capital. The capital is raised from its members by way of share capital, and major part of finance that is raised by the society only through taking loan from government or by accepting grants and assistance from the central or state government. So these above were the characteristics of cooperative societies and trusts. Next up is the advantages of such form of organization. The first advantage is easy formation. Yes, it's very easy to form. You just, as compared to company, which is very complicated to form, it's very easy to form, and the simple requirement is just 10 or more members. They have to make written application to the registrar with 4 copies of bylaws. So it's very easy to form. The next advantage is open membership. It works on the principle of open membership. It does not restrict membership. It is nothing like this person has to give membership or not. Many persons can become the members, and it works on the open membership basis. The next advantage is democratic management. Democratic management says that all the members, they jointly own this general body, and they are jointly known as managing committee. They manage it in a democratic way only. One member, one vote is the thumb rule, and members can have voice in management as well. The next advantage is limited liability. Very advantageous, because the liability is limited to the extent of capital contributed by them. Just that in case of losses, only the liability which is to the extent of the capital which is contributed by them, that will be lost, but other than that, they are not personally liable. The next advantage is stability and continuity. Now it has perpetual succession. Yes, perpetual succession. I have already explained it in a company form of organization also, that the company or the organization goes on, and it is not affected due to death, insolvency and lunacy of any member or any partner. So it's very easy that the company goes on, for this form of organization goes on and on. The next advantage is low prices. Now it can make goods and service available at reasonable cost, as the profit margin is very less. That is why whatever the products they are selling or whatever they are making, that is at a very reasonable cost, because they are serving the society as main. The main objective is not to earn the profit. The main objective is to serve the society. The next advantage is mutual help. The basic aim is mutual help. Some members may offer their services on honorary basis. So it's very important that the basic aim is always mutual help. And the next advantage is social advantage. Yes, it discourages monopoly, bring better distribution of wealth, works on principle of service, and controls exploitation. So on a large basis, it is serving the societies. It is advantageous for the society. Such form of organizations, they serve the society at large. The next advantage is mobilization of savings. So it is a thrift institution. It provides an effective means of pooling together the resources of the weaker sections of the society. It pools together the resources and mobilize their savings in a better way. The next advantage is remove defects of capitalism. So it removes the certain defects of capitalism like monopoly. People are taking up we have just one producer or one manufacturer, and he is selling his goods, pricing on he's deciding prices on his own. So that is why there are lots of defects of capitalism. Then black marketing, people are selling goods in black. All these things are being removed from this such type of organization. The next advantage is cash trading. Now they follow the principle of cash and carry. This inculcates the habit of saving among these members because it works on cash basis. So cash trading is being Done. The next advantage is government support. Now it's basically people's movement, so it also helps the economic enlistment of the people. Government is supporting it fully, we all know it. So these above were the advantages of this form of organization. Now talking about the disadvantages of this form of organization, the first disadvantage is lack of capital. Now these are launched by economically weaker sections of the society and it cannot dream to undertake any large scale business for that reason. It cannot dream to undertake, it cannot think, okay, we are gonna do, something on a large scale, because the people who are involved in such societies, they are from economically weaker sections only. The next disadvantage is lack of efficient management. Now definitely due to limited resources, they are unable to secure the services of efficient managers, because efficient managers will ask for more salaries, for more perks. So for that, societies or trusts don't actually fulfill that wish, because they are providing service, they don't have that much resources to fulfill efficient managers. The next disadvantage is lack of unity among members. The members are drawn from different sections of the society. That is also very important. Now everybody is coming from different backgrounds, different thinkings. So at that point of time, there may be lack of harmony between among them, which is one of the disadvantages. The next disadvantage is lack of motivation. Now, cooperation brings an end to the feeling of individual self-interest, because definitely you're serving the society, you're thinking about the people at large. So it is bringing an end to the feeling of individual self-interest. Most of the time, everybody's responsibility becomes nobody's responsibility. The next disadvantage is again cash trading. Now they sell all goods for cash and do not extend credit facilities, which is sometimes a bummer in today's kind of business, because now everything is works on credit things, credit facilities. Now the consumers from downtrodden society, they need credit facilities. Maybe they are not having enough cash to purchase your products. So at that point of time, it is really big disadvantage. Next disadvantage is political interference. Because these are under the regulations of the government, it is not ruled out that political interference is there, and every government tries to send their own party members to these societies. The next disadvantage is difficult to maintain business secrecy. Now the affairs are often very often exposed to the members, so that it becomes quite difficult to maintain the business secrecy, because there are number of members and everybody knows whatever is happening in the business, so there is no business secrecy in such form of organization. The next disadvantage is unwanted interference by the departmental personnel. Yes, because cooperatives are being exposed to considerable degree of regulation by the cooperative societies. That is why there is lots and lots of interference by the departmental personnel. These above were the disadvantages of this form of organization. Now we'll talk about the suitability of this type of organization, like which businesses are best suited for these forms of organization are: first, to earn profit and to promote common economic interest. The businesses which have the aim to earn profit also, but not very much profit, to earn less profit and to promote common economic interest. Both go hand in hand. The next is easier to raise capital from financial institutions and government. If you are thinking such thing to help the society, then that way you can raise the capital from financial institutions also and the government also. The next point is suitable for small and medium size operations, because yes, the capital is being raised by the people who are who are economically weaker, so small and medium size operations are best suited. So these are the suitabilities for this form of organization. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, do leave a comment below and press the bell icon for all the updates. Thank you.